Peace. Welcome to MaatSpeaks. Welcome. I am happy to be here today. And it's a little informal today because I just decided to go live today during Maat Wednesdays instead of doing a video. And something that really what's speaking to me today is being spiritually aligned. The question is, are we spiritually okay? So instead of doing my usual video today, oh, peace, TWP, peace. And Snuggles, what's with the eyes, Snuggles? Peace. Thank you for coming. So again, this is going to be a brief live. I'm not going to be here for hours. I'm just going to be here for a few minutes. No more than 15-20 minutes at the most, I hope. And just wanted to be a little informal and talk about being spiritually aligned, or are we spiritually okay? So I'm pretty sure that we all know the answer to that question, right? We are not spiritually okay as a people. So the point is getting back to being spiritually aligned. So just do it. Thanks, love. I know you are working hard. So thank you for showing up for me. And I appreciate you as always. So let's just talk about that. Let's talk about being spiritually. Um, oh, what makes you think you're not spiritually okay? So let's get into that. Yes, that's a great question, Snuggles. Um, and you said, is everyone supposed to be mentally stable? Do you think some people were born to be unstable? Oh, that's a deep question. So I think that when it comes to being mentally stable, I do believe that so when I talk about community, I do talk about the Black community. And I think that because we are in foreign systems that are not meant for us, they were never meant for us, that it creates kind of that us being unstable, more like an insanity. And so I think that what that looks like is going to be different for different people. So when you look at someone, for example, who's autistic, right? They have a connection that is different than what we consider to be normal, right? They tend to be really, if you ever worked with somebody who's autistic, they tend to be really focused on certain things. And really be able to work through those things, as opposed to us who are kind of like dabbling with all these different things. Like when I was working with this little girl and she was autistic, she could tell you every line of every Disney movie or every movie that she had. So there was like hundreds of movies, and she could tell you it line for line without even watching it. She would just be able to recite it line for line. And so with that, to me, that's a skill. Maybe you might not see what that skill is at that age. I think at the time she was about 8 years old. But that is a skill that can definitely be used. But we would look at her because she didn't really like being touched. She couldn't really hold a conversation, but it's a different skill. So let's see. Okay, good or bad. So I don't like using, is everybody supposed to be what you call good or bad? So when it comes to that, I don't go by good or bad or good or evil. I don't necessarily believe in that context. I believe it more so as in what is helpful or what is harmful. So, what is helpful to our community? What is helpful to the planet? What is helpful to your body? What is helpful to nature? All of those things. Like, what is actually helpful and what is harmful? So, that is an inward thing, right? So, as a woman, there are things that are going to be helpful to me, and there's going to be things that be harmful. So, first, I go inward to see what's helpful and harmful with helpful or harmful to me. Then I extend that to my family. What's going to be helpful or harmful to my family? And then I extend it to my community. So really, and then I extend that to the planet, to nature, all of these things, because that is how you develop harmony in your life. So really developing those. Snuggles, you're asking some wonderful questions. You may really making me think. Does every animal eat the same thing, or do some animals feed off the animals? And so that's the cycle of life, right? So I have me and my husband often debate. We are plant based, but you know, uh, we're kind of plant based. Some of the same reasons, but he does kind of say that, well, the circle of life, because there are some animals that eat other animals. So the thing is, do animals have a right to be on this planet, right? So I do think that animals have a right to be on this planet, but at the same time, there are animals that are going to eat those animals. And so we we kind of use our brain synapses to understand that, because we, as in our state before we started really thinking like we think now and analyzing everything and intellectualizing everything, we were on we were like animals in essence. But now that we are not like animals, and in the sense of how we think and how we behave, then we can start looking at things like, what is good for the planet, what is harmful, what is helpful. So one thing that differentiates us, because even if you are a meat eater, animals don't eat meat or other animals the way that we consume. We over consume. So there are animals that, when animals consume, like for example, if they go and kill a deer, they're most likely going to feed off of that deer for some time. But that as people, when they go and kill a deer, it's, they're killing more and more and more. And we consume everything to a very high level. Like, we're not just consuming, not just meat, but anything, everything that we consume, we're consuming it at a very high level, which again, that is going to affect our spiritual, our mental, our physical. Um, so I'm going to get back to your questions, Douglas, because you are coming with the questions. Okay, so peace, Don. Could you? I'm so busy at the moment, but catch you every time I can. Oh, thank you, Don. I appreciate you so much. I love seeing you in the chat, even if you are not able to listen in right now. I just love seeing you. So peace to you. So Snuggles, I'm going to get back to some of your questions, but I do want to delve into are we spiritually okay? So um, again, anyone who's just coming into the chat, I just want to have a brief discussion. Don't plan to be here too long, but I just want to talk about to check in, see if we're spiritually okay, and what does that look like. So we know that we're going into spring is around the corner. I don't know how the weather is in your city, but it's starting to get warmer here. The sun is starting to come out. And these are the times when we tend to declutter our lives, work on our physical image by working out more, because it's warmer. So we tend to go outside more, go to the track, do all those types of things, and doing cleaning around the house. But it's so important that we also cleanse our spiritual selves, our spirit bodies. We tend to ignore our spiritual bodies. I was having a conversation with our kids the other day, and we discussed how things manifest in the physical world. And it's important to understand that before they manifest in the physical world, they first manifest in the spiritual. So that's why holistic health is important. It's all connected. So we are disconnected. We put everything in their own box. So we put our mental health in one box, and then we put our spirituality, we put that in a different box, and then we put our physical, we put that in a whole different box, instead of focusing on one on the aspect of instead of focusing on one aspect, such as going on a detox. You know, a lot of people, they go on detoxes because they're trying to lose weight, or some people, you know, they might be trying to get rid of toxins is still a physical aspect. um, but it's very important that you go on a spiritual detox. So, anyone that has been on a spiritual detox, and let me know if you have gone on a spiritual detox in the chat, um, we see how it helps us mentally, physically, and spiritually. Because again, spiritually, when you spiritual detox, it kind of opens up other areas, and that detox of the spiritual is also going to lead to a detox in the it's going to lead to that detox physically, and it's going to help your body. So like I said, it's all connected. So instead of saying something like, I'm going to detox so I can lose this weight, so I can look good on the beach, um and that's the physical. um, so, you know, it's really important that we do that as a community, you know, just watching us as a whole, the way we communicate with each other on social media, face to face, even in our families. It can be disheartening at times. We're focused on so many surface issues, and we refuse to dig deeper. So it's very important that we really start to dig deeper. And when we're having conversations, when we're communicating with one another, we want to deal with the symptoms instead of actually dealing with the root causes and why we get there. Let me shout out some other. Oh, okay. Listening closely. Okay, Don. Let's see. Arshawn. Peace, Arshawn. Always, yes, live today for my Wednesdays. And let's see, Born Eternal Lord. Oh, okay. Peace. Thank you for joining us today. I don't think I've seen you in my chat before, so I'm very thankful that you're here today. Okay, guys, thank you for being here. So yeah, just tuning in, quick live discussing, are we spiritually okay? So getting back to um what happens to us on a spiritual level, and how we connect the spiritual detox to the physical. So when we see what's happening on social media, in our families, in our relationships, we a lot of time talk about that other person, right? We're like, "Oh, they're toxic," or they don't know how to behave, they don't know how to act. As a mother, I get like that with my children. I'm like, why are they having attitude? Why are they acting like that? Why is he screaming? Why are they arguing? My girls, well, sometimes they argue a lot. And it's a hard pill to swallow when you have to look at yourself and say they're most likely acting like that because of me, something that, or, you know, maybe they saw me and my husband arguing, so they're arguing. Maybe I had an attitude. I got up with an attitude. So now they're getting up with attitudes, you know? So all of these things, we don't like to look at ourselves, but we do. We have to look at ourselves. And you might have heard that everyone, the people around you, they're the ones, they're the reflection of you, right? So you, in essence, are the center of your universe, and everything that you are responding to or in contact with are a reflection of you. That's a hard thing to accept at times. So, the questions you ask, why am I attracting toxic people? Or you can even ask yourself, man, I'm attracting some good people in my life. What's going on here? Right? So, I often recite this quote. If you looked at my other videos, you probably heard this before. But toxic food sustains the toxic aspects of ourselves. That's a quote by Chief Yua from the 14 Keys. But that's not only food, right? Toxic people, toxic movies, toxic music, toxic social media YouTubers that you follow. All this toxicity sustains the toxic aspects of you. So when you do these things, you are just sustaining that toxicity that's within you. So you continue to indulge in it because it's feeding you. It's feeding your toxicity. It's like a parasite in your body, feeding off the bacteria. Um, and But ultimately, it's like you're the parasite because you're feeding off of all of these different things that's sustaining the toxicity that is within you. Now, don't feel attacked because me too. There are times, um, oh my goodness, I think that this might be, hold on just a minute, y'all. Someone is calling me. Just a minute, guys. Oh no, I ordered some groceries, y'all, and I think the grocery I think the grocery person is calling me. I don't know why. Let's see. I don't know. It doesn't say it's being delivered, so I don't know why they would be talking to me. So anyway. So yeah, so those toxicity. So let me shout out some people. Oh, I'm so happy. I just did this impromptu. Like, I didn't plan on going live, but I was just like, I want to go live. And I'm so thankful that y'all are here. Peace, E Black. Always good to see you. Let's see. Uh, the chaotic. Ah, okay. Okay. And Sir Hell, thank you for coming. And what makes something toxic? So, Snuggles, that goes back to what we were talking about previously. What makes something toxic? Is it harming you? So, something that is harming you is toxic. That's just, we can say all other fancy words, but if it's harming you, so foods that harm you, that give you diseases, like most of the food in the Western diet, that's toxic. Anything that goes into your mental space. So, for example, there's a lot of reality shows or Black entertainment shows that are toxic because what are they doing? They are going into your subconscious and making you think that those actions are okay, but they're actually harming you mentally. They're harming you spiritually. They're going into your subconscious and telling you that the way that you're behaving, that those behaviors are okay. So we know that the way that the Black man and the Black woman operate usually, and I'm not gonna say usually, but when it is harming the family unit, that is toxic. Um, let's see, the music that's telling you that you are calling you out your name, calling you a b and a hoe and all these different kind of things, and telling you to drink this and smoke this, that is toxic because we already know that alcohol and things that you put in your, smoking, those are things we already know that's toxic. Like, we know it. Even if we do it, we know that it's toxic. But anything that's continuously promoting that, that is toxicity. So anything that is harmful is toxic. Yes, we absorb a lot. So, when it comes to toxicity and absorbing that, we have to figure out, how do we become spiritually okay? It's not up to anybody else to spiritually align you. It's up to yourself. I guess that humans that eat meat are toxic to animals. Yeah, you can say that. You can say that. Now, there's lots of documentaries that show also, because when you get back to our ancient practices, there were certain things that we did. We are toxic to earth, period. The earth does not necessarily need us to survive, to thrive. And the earth will get rid of us if we continue to be toxic to it. So, yes, toxicity, we are toxic to animals, but we're not just toxic to animals. We're toxic to plants. We're toxic to the trees. We're constantly cutting down trees, and it's really crazy. That's why holistic health is important, because the more you deplenish natural life, then the more it affects us as and our health, because we know that we're getting oxygen from those trees and from those plants. It's reciprocity. One of the Maotic principles, it is reciprocity. Okay. All right, guys. Give me one moment. I'm so sorry. Hold on. Okay, guys. Sorry about that. So you said, please, okay, what's the or do things that are meant to destroy also have the ability to create at the same time? So yes, they are going to be creating something. Yeah, they're going to be creating something. They're going to be creating harmful effects. So we have to understand that what is the purpose of things that are meant to destroy. So the things that are meant to destroy, they can, right? So one thing that I love to reference when this topic comes up is Avatar. I don't know if y'all ever watched the cartoon Avatar, but look at him as an avatar having to wield all of those different what you could just call them energies, like he water, air, fire, um and one thing is, when he got to the fire, he was afraid to use fire, because why? Because it can be very destructive. But we also know that when it's used properly, then it actually can help. So fire is a cleansing agent, right? Like, we can use fire to cleanse. But it can also be very destructive. So the things that we talk about, yes, there are things that are meant to destroy that can be helpful, but what Captain Planet is the original Avatar. Captain Planet was my show. Captain Planet. He's yes, that was my cartoon. I love Captain Planet. But and I want to shout out. Oh, thank you, Sir Hal. I appreciate that. Um, Peace. Thank you for coming. I appreciate you being here. So yeah, what is the purpose of tilling the soil? I'm not sure what you mean by that. Do you mean by what we do to the soil before we put the seed in the soil? Um, so yeah, I'm not really sure the question what you mean by that. What is the purpose of fire? So yeah, purpose of fire. It can cleanse or it can destroy. Now, fire has been used what for probably centuries. I don't know. I don't. They to for warmth. To create things, you see that when they were creating weapons, they used fire. So yeah, going back to that. Um, so any even weapons, right? Weapons can be used to help or they can use to destroy. Now, that's a whole different conversation when we start talking about things that are used for um, destruction and things that are used for help, because depending on where you are in the world, um, people can either be saving you or harming you, right? So if you are in um, when if you are in another country and that country bombs you, right? That country is the what quote unquote the devil to you, right? That country is your destroyer. But if you are in that country that's doing the bombing, this is where ethics and morals come into place. Then the people there don't look at that. They're like, oh, well, it needed to happen. So, that is a different conversation. So I'm not going to get deep into that. So what are the purpose of the things that I think we just touched on that? Let's see, any other question here? Oh, thank you. That makes me feel so good. Thank you so much. Um, and let's see. Yes, what you have so oh yes. What do you do to the soil before you put the seed into the soil? What is the action of telling? What exactly does it do to the soil? So I'm not a gardener, so I don't know everything, but I do know that you do have to prepare the soil, and that's such a great lesson because we have to prepare ourselves. It's just like, if you spiritually, they talk about how you actually have to prepare the womb before the womb is like the soil, right? And the seed, the sperm is like the plant or the seed, right? So you have to prepare the womb before it is actually before you actually conceive, because if you don't prepare it properly, there are things that can happen as that fetus is growing. So preparing, how do you prepare that? In Dr. Africa, Layla Africa, he talked about that you actually, both parents actually had to prepare at least a year in advance before conception. So this is why I say we are disconnected, because we treat everything in their own separate boxes. No one is teaching I'm not gonna say no one. A lot of people are not teaching to prepare the body before you even conceive. What if we taught that at a young age? What if we taught that the repercussions of not preparing the body before conception, actually taking care of the womb on both sides, telling men and women how important it is to take care of the womb. So, it's a lot of things that we have to discuss as a community, because we normalize toxicity. We even rationalize for it. We rationalize that it's okay to watch these shows. It's okay to um, absorb this music. It's okay to, it's okay to eat these toxic foods. I like what Arshawn said in Hanifa's chat the other day about how eating uh, certain foods and eating for your emotions is normalized. So we do normalize that. We normalize going out and drinking and smoking to get over things or to quote unquote heal. But what if we normalize eating real foods? And real foods usually means that you can go pick them out right from nature. Those are considered real foods. Um, okay, so Snuggles, you say you're talking about toxicity and being harmful to you, but you're being harmful to something or someone. Does that make you toxic or that just part of nature? Please explain. Okay, yes. People can be toxic, right? So I can have toxic thoughts that harm myself. I can do something against someone that's toxic. And if in social media, it's a kind of a playground for toxicity, in my opinion. So one thing I love about social media and about YouTube is that you can either go to YouTube and you can find YouTubers and channels that are helping you, which is a great place to use it. You can go to Facebook, Instagram, and find people who help you, help your mindset, help you get in shape, help you with your spiritual state. Or you can go to that toxic YouTuber and get all your toxicity. You can go to that toxic Instagram page. You can go to that toxic, you can feed into those toxic people on your Facebook pages and continue. So everything, every single thing. That's why duality, polarity, that is important to understand because those exist in us. Whatever your spiritual belief says, beliefs are, understand even like that duality exists within us. So that whole, God and Satan, those dualities and things like that, and being on the opposite sides of the spectrum, right? So we have a spectrum within all of that. So there's a spectrum within good, there's a spectrum within bad or evil or harmful. So, for example, I can drink a cup of wine. And yes, that is on a spectrum of toxicity, but it's probably not going to kill me. But if I go drink 5 bottles of wine, that is on a different spectrum of toxicity, and it's most likely going to harm me either in the long run, or I could get alcohol poisoning or um ethanol poisoning, which is something that I recently learned what that really does to your body. So yeah, so you it's a spectrum. So when we talk about harmful and helpful, we have to understand something can also kill us slowly, right? Like it doesn't have to kill us the next day. It can kill us years down the line, or it can affect our livelihood. One thing that I hear people often say is, I don't want to be plant-based, or I don't want to eat healthy. I don't want to work out because I just want to enjoy my life. The problem with that is, one, how long do you want to enjoy your life? Eating right does not have to be bad. I enjoy eating my food, right? Like, even though I'm plant-based, I enjoy it. It tastes good. It's wonderful, and there's the same seasonings you put on your meat, you can put on your food, on your vegetables. So that's the thing, like, really enjoying life doesn't have to be centered around food. In the Black community, enjoying life is centered around toxic foods. I did a video, oh goodness, probably a month or two ago. It was a Wellness Friday video, and it was talking about how when we are incredibly happy or we're incredibly sad, that's what we absorb. We end up absorbing those things that's sustaining that. So when we're really, really happy, we want to eat. And then when we're really, really sad or depressed, we want to eat. But finding that balance so that you understand, am I eating because I'm sad, depressed, bored, angry, or even really happy? And so I want to go eat? Or am I eating to live? Am I eating because that's what I need, the nourishment that I need? We have so many misconceptions on how that, there's the and this has been debunked now, that you don't have to, if you don't eat or drink for 3 days, that you'll die. We grew up with that, but we know that's been debunked because there's people who have not eaten or drank water for days or weeks, sometimes months, and they're still on this planet. So that's a part of spiritually detoxing. Let's see. And why should you tell a person who does not have a womb but also know how to take care of their other? Okay. So, yeah, so it's a matter of um when we tell the other person to respect that, it's a matter of respecting that. So it's just like it, this is a crazy metaphor, I guess. But it's just like when you get out of your car, there are people who get out of their car, swing that door open, they don't care about the other person's car, they don't care about their car. But there's people like me, when I get out of my car, I care about my car, but I also don't want to scratch the other person's car. So I ease out of my car, even if I'm parked closely, because that is respecting that other human being's property. So when we talk about teaching our children to respect, uh, and this has to be done at a young, well, it doesn't have to be, but it should be done at a young age, respecting the womb, and even respecting that man, because it's not just boys who are being aggressive, there are girls that are aggressive. But if we teach that girl to respect her womb, everyone does not need to enter your sacred space. And then we also teach young men that they don't always need to enter, that they need to protect that space. Because when we're talking about starting these families, it's important not that just your husband respected it, but even every person that you've been in a relationship with has respected it. So by the time they do go into a long-term relationship or to their future husband or wife, that they know that they're going into a pure and sacred place. And why does it need to be a pure and sacred place? Because that's where life begins, and those energies, whatever energies. So if you decided to be with a toxic person, those energies are going into your womb, and you just can't get rid of those things. Um, it's an important part of the process with learning. We would have better relationships with one another if we both respected each person's energy, their space, their womb, their sacred parts. Women don't just have sacred parts. I don't believe in just saying women have sacred parts like the womb. Men do too. Their sperm is sacred. That's what's planting the seed. So we have to both respect one another's sacred energies, divine masculine, divine feminine energies, because in essence, when you are creating life, you are becoming what? Like God, like the divine. That is a part of the creation process. And we create constantly. We are constantly creating something. When you're thinking, you're creating. When you're speaking, you're creating. And when you take action, you're creating. So, not just in sexual acts that we be respecting one another, but we be respecting each other constantly. The way we talk to one another, the way we speak life to our children, and also how we come into contact with one another. All of these things are very important, but because we are constantly absorbing toxicity, then we don't really know what that looks like. Let's see if somebody slap them back. Which one is Snuggles? Are you trolling me? Okay, so reciprocity exists. Okay. So when it comes to reciprocity, I spoke on this before. If someone slaps you, I'm not going to say that they don't deserve to slap you back. I do believe in reciprocity. I do believe in reciprocity. So, what does that mean? That also means that it can come back to you and you don't know how hard that's going to come back to you. Reciprocity can come back, it can be gentle or it can be rough. So if I slap you, you might punch me, you know? So who's toxic? It depends on the situation. It really depends on the situation. I wouldn't say that either party is toxic or not. Don't know what the situation is. But if you're just going around slapping people or hitting people or trying to, fight people, then you might be a toxic person. If I reciprocate that, that doesn't necessarily mean that I'm toxic. It means that I'm not going to let you slap me and get away with it. But it depends on the situation. Find that good, useful land in all walks of life. Yes, yes. Find that good, useful land in all walks of life. Yes, yes. Can you name something that you have harmed that was helpful to you to harm it? Hmm. I don't know. I have to think about that. Something that I have harmed. Hmm. I would say that I've harmed myself in ways. I don't know if that was helpful. I learned the lesson from it. I don't say, I don't really agree with the whole I went through this and that helped me become a better person. That might be true, but I'm not going to tell a person that has been molested that helped them become the person that they are. I'm going to say that you might have learned certain lessons from that, but I won't necessarily say like, "Oh, you became a better person because of that." you know, like it's more of the lessons that you take away from it. What lesson did I learn because we all have toxic aspect of ourselves because we are constantly absorbing toxicity. So just because I am Mod Speaks and I preach balance doesn't mean that I can't be toxic. I can be toxic just like that because we live in a toxic world and we're constantly absorbing toxicity. It's inevitable that we absorb toxicity. And so, you know, it's a lesson that I learned. I really think about it as a lesson and not that it was helpful. I think sometimes we overanalyze things and intellectualize things to the point that we're kind of missing the message. So, is it helpful? So, certain things can be harmful in that moment, but then it could have helped you as a lesson to know that I'm not going to do that again. There's certain things that I've eaten and I'm like, that messed me up. I'm not going to eat that again. Oh, that restaurant, I went to that restaurant, it messed me up. I'm not going to eat that again. So it's more of the lessons that you get from it. Our pieces, so glad to see you. Thank you for coming. Let's see, Snuggles takes things. I saw Snuggles during one day. Yes. Snuggles has been coming with the questions. Self-defense. Yes. Right. Very good. Okay, guys. Thank you so much. So continuing with the discussion of toxicity. So I've been fasting for a few days, and I'm not gonna say it's been easy. It's been quite difficult because I love my food. Even though that I'm plant-based, I still love to eat good food. So I did ask my husband to join me with it, and it has been a lot easier with him doing it with me. So I'm not sitting up here looking at him eating, and then I'm over here starving. um, it has its like moments. It's like ebb and flows. Like right now I'm good, but then in a couple hours I may be like, this morning I was like good. I was ready to go work out. And then like around 10 o'clock, I was like, oh my goodness, my energy felt drained. But but that's a part of, and I'm treating it as a more of a spiritual detox than a physical detox, because I noticed that I was struggling sometimes with certain things. And I was just like, I really need to do a spiritual detox. I really need to get back centered and really really approach things better than I've been approaching them. And then also looking at your physical life, you can tell, like I said, manifesting in the spiritual. It manifests in the spiritual before it manifests in this physical. So you have like your thoughts, right? Your thoughts can be disjointed, and then that shows up in the cleanliness of your home, and then it shows up in your body. So like maybe if you break out, your eyes, seeing your eyes not being the color that they should be, a lot of different things, and then even cravings, things that you're craving that you don't usually crave. Those are all things that are showing like, okay, I need to really focus on my spiritual cleansing. So um once I did started fasting, and this was the beginning of my journey, which I would call my conscious awareness. I was having some really amazing spiritual experiences. But also, what happened was I started having less cravings. I stopped desiring meat. As I stopped eating meat, then a lot and other toxic foods, then my conscious awareness did start to grow. So you see how all this connected. So what you eat affects the great elder Baba Kaba. He says, what is his quote? He says, the better you eat, the better you think. The better you think, the better you eat. So, it's all connected. So, what does spiritual detoxing, what does that look like? So, how do we become spiritually okay? I think it's important to start with yourself, but also I think it's a great thing. Like if you're in a relationship, um you're in to detox together, it can really do some great things. Detoxing as a family, detoxing as a group, detoxing um as a sisterhood, things like that. All of these things are really helpful. So with yourself as important, but if you're having a hard time with it, I would definitely suggest you detox with a community of people, because you can all keep one another accountable. Check in with how you're feeling, what are you struggling with, how can I help you? And so what does that look like? What does spiritual detoxing look like? Um, so one that I touched on already is social media. So when you detox from social media, something happens, because also understand that they have already tested us within this, and they know that we're addicted to the social media. Just even the scrolling, they said the scrolling, how you scroll like on Instagram and YouTube and things like that. They said it's actually something, I don't know if you've ever noticed, but sometimes you like mindlessly scroll. Like sometimes I'll be on one of the social media apps and I'm like, why am I on here? Like I don't even want to be on here. Like, I don't like Facebook. I don't really care for Facebook that much, but I'll be scrolling on Facebook and it's doing nothing for me. But what's happening? Those images are going into, like, those images are connecting to you. So that's one thing that I do suggest when you are spiritually detoxing, is that you detox from social media as much as you can. I know some people run their business, but sometimes people will put up a post and say, I'm detox, I'm on a spiritual detox. And so, I'll be back in so many days. Toxic people. So that can be your sister, your brother, your auntie, your mama, your brother, your best friend. Detox from those people, especially if they're always coming to you with negativity. If you know that they're a toxic person or they're negative all the time, it's important that you detox from them. uh Spending time in nature if you can. I know in some places it's still cold, but going for walks. But if you can't, go get you a living, breathing plant and meditate with it. Put it on your altar. Do libations with it. Obviously, detoxing from your diet. So you can do water fast. You can do dry fast, which is no food or water. I would only suggest doing that about 3 days at the most. I have done a 5-day dry fast before, and it was really amazing spiritually. But I am not a medical professional, so I am not going to tell you what to do. You can detox on just fruits and vegetables or just fruit. Something that's really good that you can do is just anything with seeds in it. Just say, I'm just going to eat just everything that has a seed in it. And then throw away things that have connections to people that are toxic. Like, I know my sisters do this, so this is why I'm saying it to y'all. That we hold on to things a lot. Like, we'll have a box. We broken up with old dude, but we have a box of those things, but we know he was toxic and he cheated on us. But we still got that box. Throw that away. Or my brothers, delete that woman's number who you know was toxic out of your phone and stop calling her when you're lonely, or you know. So yeah, like doing certain things like that, because those things have energy. Clothes, anything that someone has given you that you know that they're toxic, and it brings up those memories, throwing those things away. And then something that you can do to add to your, because it's very important also to try to stay active. Um, and what I mean that is when you're sitting down and you're like bored, that usually tends to make you want to eat. So you can learn a new school skill. So like if you're doing a vegetable cleanse or detox, try making a new dish, something that you've never done before. Take an art class or something, go to the mountain, do something, do something that is active. Take a nap too. Don't and without feeling guilty. Take a nap. I feel guilty sometimes when I take naps, but don't feel guilty as you take a nap. So, obviously, meditating and reading books that you don't normally read. But when you are detoxing, sometimes you want to make sure that you're not bringing up a lot of negativity. So I wouldn't suggest like reading the ISIS papers while you're spiritually detoxing, because that might not necessarily bring up all the great love and joy that you're trying to create. But reading something that is intellectually different can also help you with your detoxing, because as you're detoxing, your mental clarity starts to get a lot better. Like even your senses, all your senses start to clear up when you're detoxing. You start smelling better, tasting things better, and you also end up really getting an appreciation of food too, because you're like, man, I can't wait to eat again. Oh, vegetables, that sounds so good right now. Like right now, I'm thinking about how much I am going to tear up that salad when I eat it, when I'm done with my detox. But yeah, so doing things like that. Do you understand the reasons for my questions? My question. What question? Was it the last question you asked, Snuggles? It's just like a fidget spinner. Yep. Mm-hmm. Or channel surfing. Yes. You like nothing's on, but you keep hitting that. Yes. Very good. I have a oh my goodness. I have such a terrible time. I'm trying to find the perfect plant that I can put on my altar so that I can at least water it like once a week. Because I want to like pour. I was watering. I had my aloe, and I was watering it. Like I was pouring libations in it every single day, for weeks, and it did ultimately die. So I'm bad at overwatering. I'm trying to find the perfect plants that I can have a balance. Like I want plants that I hardly have to water, and then plants that, can take a little bit more water. So yeah, that is a difficult thing for me. I really have to learn how to I want to develop that green thumb, because I want to start a garden as well. And I'm just like, I can barely keep a house plant alive. Okay, so do you know in order to achieve balance, you have to understand that you need toxicity as part of you, or what you would call the disagreeable or the bad part? It also protects you. Okay, so what is toxic? Snuggle, so let me ask you this. What toxicity do you think that you need in order to balance yourself? What toxicity do you think you need or does? Yes, I know. I know. I that was the only plant that I had that I could because when you are at your altar, you want to have the elements of earth, water, air, and fire. And so I was pouring libations, but I was pouring libations too much into it. At first, it was doing okay, and I do know that it's a it's a cactus. It is not supposed to be watered as much as it's supposed to. Yeah, so I did overwater it, and it died. Yeah, but I have another one, so I'm pray that it doesn't die. I haven't been overwatering it. But yeah, I really want to have so many plants like in my house and around me to have, around in nature and things like that. But I do have to learn how to properly take care of them. Um, let's see. It sounds like you have the ability to always want to be in a caring for something position, but you have to realize that part of you is also very harmful at the same time if not understood. I do agree with that. So I think that we have to often make sure that we're self check, we're always in self check mode. I talk about judging yourself on a daily basis. Um, and, you know, I, I think that again, it comes to us intellectualizing everything because there are things that are constantly like we have bacteria in our body constantly like it's the whole idea of someone they end up washing their hands too much, or when that child is a baby, not letting that baby be exposed to bacteria. So, what happens? They end up getting sick because they were not exposed to the bacteria in the first place. Bacteria, but too much bacteria can be harmful. So, I think that um, yeah, wanted to always be caring for something, but caring for my body does not mean that I'm not around toxicity because we're always around toxicity, but it's the level of toxicity that we're talking about. No one is not necessarily going to be able to tell me that wine, no matter if it's red wine or not, that it's good for me. Nobody's going to tell me that a cigarette is good for me. There's certain things that we know that are toxic, but we rationalize because a lot of people are doing it. Because I can go get me a cup of grape juice, or I can just go get me some seeded grapes and eat those seeded grapes, and they're helpful to me. But those seeded grapes probably also still have bacteria that you cannot get rid of. So it's, I think sometimes we have to really think about what we're doing. Is it harmful? This just you have to ask yourself. I'm not trying to talk anybody into anything. I'm just putting the information out there. You ask yourself, is what I'm doing helping me or is what I'm doing harming me? You ask yourself that. Um, let's see. I want plants in every room. Yes. Let's see. You understand. I just said that part of you that cares for your people and things a lot is also toxic when you do it a lot. So the part that you think is nice is your toxic part of you that you have to check. Okay, yes, I understand what you're saying, Snuggles. So yes, when you are so this is what I think about that. Making sure that we are um making sure that we are showing ourselves self-love. So over caring, yes, that can be toxic. Overdoing things can be toxic. Yes, it can, because why? It can be harmful to you. So if I go out and I say that I'm going to run 10 miles every day, and then that can have an effect on my joints and my legs, and that can end up being toxic. It's like people who overtrain can be toxic. Just like I can eat a banana, and that can be cool, right? Like that can be helpful to me. But if I eat 20 bananas, that's going to be harmful to me. In result, that's going to be toxicity. Too much of the whole concept of too much of anything. According to the thing I heard you say about yourself and the things I have noticed in the conversation with you. But I am not the sharpest tool in the shed. I'm just a program trying to understand. Yes, we're all programs trying to understand. Yes. And that's the thing. I always say that I don't know everything. I've studied things. I love having these conversations because when I have conversations with people, I do tend to learn things. So, I'm just putting this information out here and I'm asking, are we spiritually okay? Because a lot of times we talk about being in a spiritual war, but we don't really understand that the first spiritual war that we're in is with ourselves. That's the main spiritual war we're in. We're in a spiritual war with ourselves. So until we can tackle the spiritual war that we're in with our community, we first have to really navigate the spiritual war that is in with us. So if you looked at my prior videos, I talk about chaos. And I talk about chaos, it's not a bad thing. We talk about chaos like it's bad. Chaos brings the order. So when you're in chaos, it can be with your spouse, it can be with your children, it can be with your job. It's just telling you that you need to bring about the order and the structure. One is a feminine energy, one is a masculine energy, but they're both needed. They're both needed to get to it. For example, if you're an artist, or painter, draw, or even an artist like a singer or whatever, there is a period of time where nothing is in order. Everything is all over the place. Like if you're writing a piece of music, everything is all over the place. There's no order to it. It's chaotic. But there's a part of you, that masculine energy, that is going to put that in order. It's going to give it structure. So the chaos is not the bad thing. Chaos is only bad if you let it go for too long, and what happens to it? It turns into confusion. It turns into toxicity. So let's see. So I'm possibly, of course, my assessment. Okay. Those are great questions. I liked your question, Snuggles, because I think we do look at things as good and evil. So we label something as good and we label something as evil. But if you, in spirituality, we talk about good and evil both existing within us. So that's the same thing with the things that we do. And like I said, I don't really talk about things as good and evil. But when I look at myself and looking at toxicity, I say, am I being helpful? So if I'm looking at it with my husband, am I being helpful to him, or am I being harmful to him by the things that I'm saying? Because I might have good intentions, but that doesn't mean that it's helping him, because I might be nagging or whatever, whatever men say. But like, I could be actually harming his mental state by saying certain things. So, and I might have the best intentions of the in the world. I mean, I'm a Virgo, y'all, so we can be toxic at times. Because we love organization, and we always want people to do, like, we already overwhelm ourselves with things, and then we want people to match what we're doing. But sometimes that can be harmful to someone. And so that's why I say I have to do a check on myself. Sometimes I have to literally sit back and say, am I being harmful to this situation, or am I helping it? There is no safe dosage to invest or consume a toxin. Yes, exactly, exactly. There's no safe dosage to consume a toxin. So, if you are consuming any toxin, then at some point, you don't know, because all our chemistries are different. You know, um, yeah, all of our chemistries are different. So, there are people who say, "Oh, well, my grandma, my auntie, all my people in my family, they smoke, they drank, they ate." But what is happening also that we have to take into account is that things are getting worse because the food and the things that they're putting in our systems are also getting worse. So the toxins are worse. It's just like, not talking about the current jab, but all the other jabs that they give children, they're putting more and more things in there. It used to be, right, that we just got the chicken pox. I got the chicken pox when I was little, but now they're giving you a shot for it to get chicken, so you don't get chicken pox. So what with that, that just means what? That means that they're adding more and more things into those cocktails, and so it and you're seeing the changes really. If you're a historian, people who are historians can really look at the changes that are taking place. The CDC just actually put out something new, which I found very interesting, and someone on Facebook was talking about it, how now kids milestones are changing. They're saying crawling is no longer a milestone. They're saying walking, it changed from 12 months to 15 months, and speaking changed from 15 months to 18 months. Well, why are they changing this? And why is the CDC saying these are changes? Why? Because they know that they have to change it because there are things that are being done to our systems to make our children change from those milestones. So actually, just dismissing crawling and saying that's not a milestone anymore. And so, those changes are becoming more aware. So when your child goes to the pediatrician and they're saying that, okay, your child is not walking, so now it's going to be normal. It's normal if they don't walk, instead of kind of being aware, like, my child is not walking at 12 months, there might be something going on here. Now all kids are different. They're all different. They're going to develop at different stages. I have 4 kids. They all developed at different stages. They have different levels of growth, but we do have to recognize that there's some changes happening, and what we're absorbing. And those changes are going to affect our children, and they're going to affect our future generations if we don't stand up and do something about what's happening. So is bacteria good, bad, or is bacteria good or bad, or is there no right answer? There's good bacteria and there's bad bacteria. My husband, he does a lot of the scientific things when it comes to that. I don't delve too deeply. I study it, but when it comes to that, I do know there's good bacteria and there's bad bacteria. But too much of anything will be toxic. Too much of anything. So if you have too much of even the good bacteria, it can ultimately do something to you, because bacteria is still bacteria. But that doesn't necessarily mean I need Circle Scott. Yes, did not even intend on being on here this long, guys. I was only supposed to do like 30 minutes. I still don't like how you checked me the other night. Oh my goodness, that was quite alive. um, no, it's all love. It's all love. um, So I'm beginning to think some people need to be chaotic, and that is a part of the existing, and without that existence, will be off balance. So the sad things that people do seems to be needed. Okay, with that, we would have to unlayer that. And when I say unlayer, we would have to unlayer white supremacy in order to see if someone really needs to be chaotic. Because in essence, we are living through whiteness. Our filter is whiteness. So when we say someone needs to be chaotic, where are they developing being chaotic from? And what is the effect of them being chaotic? Is it helpful or harmful? So to stay in chaotic, that means you're not in balance. To stay in the chaotic state means that you're not in balance. Balance is needed for creation. period. Like, it's needed. Like, in order to get to the end results of that creative process, balance is needed. Chaos does not exist in balance. So, to say that someone needs to be chaotic. Now, again, we everything around us is a reflection of us. We are the center of our universe in essence. So, if you are around chaotic people, then you would have to question, why is that chaos in my life? What do I need to order in my life for this chaotic person to be in my life? So, chaos is needed. One thing that you can really help you grow is understanding what that chaos is doing. I don't go around saying that a person is chaotic. There are people who bring chaos to situations, but I don't really walk around and say, oh, that person is chaos. I usually try to identify why that chaotic person is around me, and what do I need to do with this person? Do I need to dismiss this person out of my life? Do I need to talk to this person? Do I need to address them? Or, and I can be chaotic at times. So when I'm chaotic, what do I need to do? What do I need to do with myself? Because chaos does not exist in balance. And so, I don't necessarily think that someone needs to be chaotic. The chaos is needed in order to get to the structure, the order, the balance. Let's see here. So, according to what balance is needed technically in order to till the soil, you have to disrupt it and destroy it, and at the same time getting ready and new. Yes, that's the chaos. That is exactly right. That's the chaos. Even when that plant is growing, that is still the chaos. But it is leading to the order. So disrupting the soil, and I love the way that you put that, Snuggles, because yes, disrupting and destroying it is the chaos. And then, it's kind of like, I don't know if you've ever seen the cells multiplying um during baby growing, but when you see those cells multiplying, that's the chaos, and the chaos is continuing to happen, honestly, up until that child is being born. And that's when you see the creation and the balance, unless something happens in utero. That's a whole nother discussion though. That is why every pharmaceutical drug is harmful side effects. So yes, it's all toxic. There's nothing on the market that is anytime I see something approved by the FDA, I side eye it. Because keeping people sick is what keeps others in business. So, I won't speak too much on that, but yeah, it is harmful. My grandmother transitioned years ago, and they said it was mostly the drugs that she had been on for years that was shutting down her organs. She had other ailments, but she had been, what, 40 years taking medication. That's why I preach all the time, y'all. Like, it's not worth it. Is the food worth it? I mean, I know we're addicted to it. We're addicted to food. Like, we are addicted to like toxins. Like I said, it sustains the toxic aspect of ourselves, but we normalize the disease now. We're not just normalizing toxicity, we're also normalizing the diseases. So we normalize high blood pressure. High blood pressure is a disease. I've seen people suffer from high blood pressure and come close to death, if not dying. Diabetes, that is a disease, but we normalize it because as long as we can take a pill or we can give ourselves a shot of something, we normalize it. That's why even with the global sickness that it has occurred, um, as long as I can jab myself with something, then I don't have to focus on anything else. I don't have to focus on the ailments. I don't have to focus on what am I trying to say? I don't have to focus on eating healthier or being healthier. or focusing on my lungs and what I need to do for my lungs. I don't have to focus on any of that. They just tell me to go get a jab and I'll be okay. And so we don't focus on what is actually destroying us. So I'm not going to talk too much about that, because I know some people get triggered by that conversation, but we do have to understand we don't know what's going to happen in the long run. I feel like a lot of people are walking around guinea pigs, and it's disheartening, because I know that a lot of people could just, take some herbs, eat some good food. Talk about European children. Yeah, they are. But unfortunately, because we love to be around European children, our people love, we think that is we think that's progress. Our children are suffering too, unfortunately. Child's advance. Yes. Most, and Dr. Africa talks about that. He talks about our children are lifting up their heads like within hours. I mean, all my kids, when they came out, they were they were looking around, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, looking at what's going on, so yeah. Let's see. Is that what your eyes were for, Snuggles? I see why you had those eyes now. Is the supremacy a problem, or is it people fear of overcoming the obstacle that has been put in front of you? The issue: does nature stop anything from happening? Does nature stop anything from happening? I don't really understand that. Is the supremacy a problem, or is it people's fear of overcoming the obstacle that has been put in front of you? The issue: does nature stop anything from happening? I don't really understand that question, Snuggles. I'm struggling with that. I firmly disagree that whiteness is the source of chaos. I'm certain that is a universal truth. Okay, so I'm not saying that whiteness is the source of chaos. I'm saying that we have to unlayer the chaos in our community and see where it's coming from. Because if we have been under subjugation, I'll just use the word subjugation, or being dominated by whiteness, and our filter is whiteness, then we don't necessarily know where certain things in our community actually stem from. So we can say, it's just like there are people who will say Black people are detrimental to their own communities. And because of that, like we're killing up each other more than white folks are killing us. That could be true because proximity, right? Anybody, if you're close to, um, if you're close to your people, like if I'm, and I say this all the time, like the people who have hurt me the most look like me, right? That doesn't mean that they're less or whatever. It just means that that's who I was around the most. I've been around, Black women hurt me the most because that's who I was around the most. Black men hurt me the most because that's who I was around the most. I chose and will continue to choose to be around Black people until I transition off this planet. But that means that they have the greater chance of hurting me. But what happens is we use that as an excuse, and we rationalize that when we learned violence from them. So when we say someone is being chaotic, where did we learn that chaos from? So violence, I'm not saying that African people didn't fight and all that, but when you really think about who is the dominant destroyer of nature and this planet, it has always been them. It has we didn't go from place to place destroying things. We went from place to place um creating and making things better. But they were the ones who started destroying. But that has a lot to do with who they are at their core. Again, my theory is that we're different species, but that's not what this conversation is about. Or are you giving the tools to protect yourself from the things that naturally happen in nature? So you can continue existing for as long as you possibly can. And if you don't use it, what happens? Oh, that's a great question. Yeah. Anything that you don't use, um, I believe, it's just like if you're a musician and or let's say you're a singer and you don't use your voice and you have a beautiful voice, eventually that voice is going to get weaker. Anything that you don't use is weak. That's our spiritual, our spiritual magic that we have, so to speak. It's weak. It's extremely weak because we have been told to demonize it. So because we are demonizing our spiritual gifts, they're very weak. There are things I'm telling y'all, and I'm not gonna get into this because not necessarily what the conversation is about, but that's why spiritual detoxing is important, because you will start learning what your spiritual gifts are if you disconnect. Disconnect, and you'll be like, oh my god. You will start doing things and seeing things that you're like, nobody will believe you. People won't even believe. They're like, no, this person crazy. Because sometimes you'll even ask yourself, am I crazy? Am I going crazy? So yeah, it if you don't use them, it's going to become weak. Um, and those tools, yes, the tools to protect you. There are spiritual tools that we can use to protect ourselves, but we don't use those tools because we don't know about them and we've been so disconnected. Chef, thank you for coming through. Peace. I like that. We're starting to find out the long-term side effects now. Yep. There's an elder who well, I'm not gonna say what she said. If you want to know what she said, I'll tell you later. I'm not gonna say that on social media. There's no one in here triggering by that conversation except if you are afraid to talk about it. Just say you are afraid. Remember, this is your platform, not ours. We're just spectators. Oh, Snuggles, you are. I like you, Snuggles. Thank you for that. In your pieces. Thank you for coming. I see what you mean. Individual attitudes and behaviors might stem from a type of chaos, but chaos itself manifests independent of type. Yeah. And chaos itself manifests independent of type. Yeah. So chaos, there is chaos that is helpful. And then there is chaos. And I don't even call it chaos, I call it confusion. I differentiate chaos and confusion because when we talk about chaos, I believe that it is helpful. We're in chaos when we're studying for something. Like if you're in school, that's chaotic. If you're creating a great work of art, you ever seen a painter paint? That's chaos. What can happen is it can turn into in confusion. If you ever been studying for something and you just, you're all over the place, you're not organizing your notes, you're not organizing your thoughts, that leads to confusion, then you fail the test. So yes, I do agree with that. Over the top. Peace, Colette. Thank you for coming. I want to know. I'll inbox you. Okay, guys. So this has been a wonderful conversation. I did not mean to be on here this long, but y'all showed up and y'all have been just a wonderful audience. So I just want to end with just making sure that it's important that each one of us gets into spiritual alignment. So again, that looks like um what I discussed before, the absorption of toxic foods, the absorption of toxic entertainment, music. And I'm not saying that you have to. I really don't watch TV. So, I don't watch all of these like new age, I call them new age shows, like Power, and I don't even know the other names of them. And I stopped watching like these black reality shows like those basketball, how what is it, Basketball Wives and all those different shows. I stopped watching them because I did see what was going on with me when I did watch them. I started uh I started I started developing some of those characteristics. Now this was years ago, right? This was years ago. This was before I became, more consciously aware, but I was. But even before that, I was like, okay, you got to stop watching these things because you're acting kind of like these women on these shows. Not as aggressive as they were, but I was kind of exhibiting some of those, behaviors. And those behaviors are kind of normalized in our community now. And so, we have conversations about that all the time, about toxicity in our community. So, um, backing off of some of those things, even if you can just do it for like a week, backing off social media when you have to, and changing your algorithm on social media. So that's one thing that I definitely do. There are people who I have deemed as toxic creators. And so what do? If I see their video, I say, don't recommend this channel. And then I start looking for things that I do want to be recommended. So I'm really on like detoxing right now. So I look at a lot of detoxing videos. I look at a lot of cleansing my space videos. I look at fitness videos, because I want to firm up and stuff like that, shape up. So I look at those videos. So what now do I see? I see a lot of different video. I see like fitness videos, food videos, and things like that, as opposed to seeing things that are just extremely toxic or historical knowledge videos and stuff like that. That's the kind of things, or even manifesting videos. So that's what I see mostly on my timeline now, because I had to change the algorithm. And you also have to change the algorithm in your life, right? Like the people in your life, you have to decide, are they helping you or harmful to you and your family, and to your well-being, and to your spiritual wellness. I have chaos. I have kids and a husband. Yes, I understand. I understand, Colette. Yeah, it can be chaotic a lot of the times. As a mother, as a parent, as a wife, as a husband, as a family unit, trying to balance your lives all the time, it can be extremely chaotic at times. And I would say most days it is. Oh, thanks, love. I heard you in there with had your meeting going on. Thank you for coming back. But yeah, I you know, I stayed on here um because the conversation was so well, but I did want to ask the question, are we spiritually okay? So, everyone, just tell me, are you spiritually okay? What is something that you need to get rid of? If you can just tell me real quick, what is just one thing? And sometimes we think we have to tackle everything at one time. You do not have to tackle everything at one time. Sometimes it can be, I'm going to stop listening to certain music, or it might be, I'm going to stop watching certain shows, or it can be, I'm going to take 24 hours off of social media. I took a social media break myself this past few days, because especially being a content creator and being on different shows, it can it can drain you. It can drain you. So I had to back up. So while I was doing my cleanse, my water fasting, I also said, okay, I gotta back off of social media as well, not spend so much time on social media. So yeah, really, my belly. My belly? You wanna detox from your belly? Oh, goodness, Colette, you're funny. And see, what do we have here, guys? Uh, I think that's just song. Oh, okay. Um, I'm spiritually okay, but I need rid of cursing. Okay. Now, back to what Snuggles was saying about cursing. Like, I don't I I I don't have a big problem with it. I think it can be helpful or harmful, right? Like you might need to open your throat chakra and release the energy of Sakim. That Sakim energy. You might need to get that in balance, so you might need to express it. But you do have to be careful with it because I believe cursing can be a curse. It can affect someone. Somebody bite you, cuss somebody out, or cuss your child out. They might be thinking about that all day long and have a terrible day for the rest of the day. So it's the it's kind of like the balance of it. What is it helping or harming you? First of all, if you cussing is harming you or is it helping you? Is it helping you open your throat chakra? Now, on the other hand, if you're cussing at someone, is that helping that person or harming that person? Now, like I said, reciprocity is reciprocity. So somebody coming at you, you know, you might have to come back at them, but at the same time, also be kind of in that way. Because sometimes we come back at people and we don't have to, and it does more harm than good. So I'm not saying go back, eye for an eye. I'm not saying necessarily that. But in my eye also teaches us that you don't necessarily do harm to someone unless it's needed for the community. And that's another conversation. I'll go back into talking about the 42 negative confessions, and we'll talk about that eventually. But it's really about continuously. And that's what helped me. That's what helps me kind of stay on track. Is it helping or harming? You might have something else. Like if I drink a cup of water, is it helping or harming? Most likely it's helping. But if I drink 20 gallons of water, is that helping or harming? It's probably going to harm me. So really thinking about that. Let's see. Throat. Throat. B9, peace B9. Yes. In Kemetic science, Kemetic spirituality, we call it the Sakim. So you might need to get some things off your chest, and that might help you because people who struggle with and that's a struggle of mine. Like my Sakim sometimes is blocked, and so and that comes from maybe not people letting you speak up, or people always cutting you off, or it might be that you need to release some things that you're holding on to, and you don't necessarily have to release it to that person. You might just need to go talk to your ancestors and just let it out there. You might just need to go outside and scream, scream into your pillow. So yes, let's see. My cousin is helping me, but harming my 4-year-old. He got in trouble at school for releasing his cussing. That's a good example. Yes. So there are things that you can do to recognize how do I help myself but not harm him. So maybe that is I got to go into this room by myself and cuss or call somebody up and be like, tell them, vent or whatever you have to do, but then saying I can't do this around my child because that's he's taking that with him to school. And sometimes with kids, they don't know the real meaning. They're just repeating it. They're just repeating it. They don't necessarily know what it means or 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 how you're using it, or what you need to use it for. So yes, very good, very good. I never curse to look up synonyms. Yes, I had a conversation. I do not cuss myself. If you notice, probably notice me on here. I say B or I don't really cuss myself down. Some people say that the more intellectual you are, the more you cuss. But then the other people say like you can if you're able to use other words instead of those cuss words, that means you're more intellectual. I don't sit on one side of the fence. I don't judge anyone who cusses anymore. At one point in my sanctified Christian days, but in my Christian days, I would judge. I would judge you. But now I don't. if that's how the person expresses himself, sometimes that's learned. They learn that at school, they learn that at home. That's just how some people talk. But yeah, I'm more like that. I will look up synonyms, Don. I'm right there with you. Um, oh, B9. So Sakim is spelled. Oh, I might have spelled that wrong. It might have an H. I think that's how it's spelled. I can't, those words, those Comedic words, they trick me up sometimes, but it's spelled like sort of like that. So the Sakim energy. And so in Comedic, um, we talk about our energy, our centers are our Ritu. So a Ritu, that is what we call, instead of calling it chakras, they call them our Ritu. Okay, so let's see. That's how that's how intellectuals kill you. Don't have to let out one cuss word. Yeah. Yes, very good. Let's see here. I actually think the first Sakim, the way I spelled it the first time, I think that's the right way to spell it. You're very welcome, B9. Okay, guys, so I'm gonna get out of here. This has been a wonderful conversation. So I just want to leave you with really making sure that you spend time developing your spiritual health, because your spiritual health leads to your mental health and leads to your physical health. It's all connected. If you do want more information on how, you can follow me on Instagram. My Instagram, babe, do you have that you can put in the chat? Is generational health revolution. Also my website. You can go to my website, and I also have here's my website there, y'all. Uh-oh. I forgot to put the .com behind it, but it's generationalhealthrevolution.com. I have a detox on there, and I also have a detox journal, or a fitness and detox journal, that you can use as you develop your spiritual health. So I'm going to be using it as well. I'm also going to be starting a challenge in March. A 30-day fitness challenge in March, where it is not going to cost anything. You just join the Facebook group. And we're going to be exercising every day. So it could be 10 minutes, 30 minutes, 40 minutes, whatever. I like to spin. So I spin most days, but I don't spin every day. So I want to work out every day for 30 days. Well, for the month, I think March has 31 days. So 31 days. So if you want to join that, be on the lookout for that. You can also follow me on Instagram, and I post there about different things, and also you can ask me questions if you want to learn how to develop, and I'll be posting some things as we go to help us all gain a greater spiritual wellness that leads to our mental wellness, that leads to our physical wellness. All connected, guys, because what manifests in the spiritual manifest in the physical. Okay, guys, I'm going to end there. You have been an absolute joy to talk to today. I did not expect this outcome today. Really, I didn't. I was like, oh, a couple people will come and I'll just be talking to myself. But I really enjoyed, and I thank you. I want to thank everyone who has subscribed to me recently. And don't forget to like, share, and get more people to come and join. I have big plans for this channel, and I really want everyone to be a part of it. I really want to build here. I really want to build a community, um, and people who are wanting to see better for the Black community. I want to build. So just make sure that you share. And I thank you for everyone who has recently subscribed, and the people who have been subscribed since day one. Thank you. I didn't announce going over 200, but I really appreciate that there are 221 people that find value in my channel. That does not go unnoticed. That I appreciate it really to the core of who I am. I appreciate it. And so just help me continue to grow and give value to other people. So share, like, subscribe, and comment. And I just love each and every one of you. I thank you so much for being a part of this journey. Okay, family. Peace. See you next time.